Brooklyn Independent Television.
Every year, the Audre Lorde Project's Safe Outside the System initiative sponsors Bed-Stuy Pride, a community gathering for creating safe spaces in central Brooklyn. And according to a national study, those efforts are increasingly important, with violence against self-identified lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Americans increasing by 13%. In New York City, violence against LGBT people of color increased by 25%, while assaults on transgender individuals were up 69%. Anna Lamontis-Salisbury reports from Bed-Stuy Pride.
If you're straight, you're welcome in our house of God. If you're gay, you're welcome there. If you're lesbian, you're welcome. If you're a bisexual person, you're welcome there. If you're a lesbian, transgender woman, you're welcome there. If you're a transgender, heterosexual, you're welcome there as well. So however you show up on the spectrum, there's a place that you can go.
Deacon Jermaine David Moses Rufus Green of Unity Fellowship of Christ Church was one of many activists from the LGBT community gathered for the second annual Bed-Stuy Pride 2012, challenging violence and rebuilding resilience.
We basically wanted to create an event that recognized and celebrated the diversity in central Brooklyn. So unfortunately, the majority of violence that LGBT people face, there's sort of an intersection where race really impacts that, and so LGBT people of color definitely face more violence, unfortunately, than a lot of our counterparts.
National reports on violence have been touting on a decrease in violence. Hate crimes against people who identify as transgender are up in New York City by 69% and people of color by 25%. There were workshops about navigating gendered public space, collections for the expenses of survivors of anti-gay assaults, and an array of information on community-building resources. And like any party, there were many activities to enjoy and vendors to peruse.
To earrings, to barrettes, I also do pocketbooks and backpacks, and I make them all by hand.
It's from our Gorin collection, and again, it's the top of the line. Well, first of all, it's a beautiful day to be out. I'm here to support Bed-Stuy Pride. And being a business person within the community, I just think it's very important to come out and support what it is they're doing here today.
While this event focused on safe spaces for LGBTQ community members to be visible, some members of the LGBTQ community feel excluded within their own community. Gail Brown is a citywide outreach coordinator for SAGE, an advocacy group of seniors.
Well, unfortunately, the United States as a whole is youth-oriented, and that doesn't exclude the LGBT community. We find that in different offerings across the city, it often leaves out the LGBT seniors, who's often right there, but we're not catered to, we're not often we're not even thought of, or invisible, thank you. A lot of times we are invisible. Also, when you think about what's going on in the city as far as safety, this being the safe outside the system, LGBT seniors are the most preyed upon population in the city. How else can you explain, what's the word I'm trying to find, vulnerable you are as one LGBT and secondly LGBT senior. You need some help navigating the dangerous world that is New York City.
And just like seniors are not always recognized in the LGBT community, neither are people of color, according to these attendees.
It's important to show like all sides of the struggle and the things that we go through, especially as a person who lives in central Brooklyn, living in Crown Heights. It is, there's a lot of violence, there is a lot of heterosexism and homophobia and transphobia. And as a man of trans experience, I think it's important to support, my community. The LGBT community is very diverse, and a lot of times our voices are often ignored and silenced.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at breakartsmedia.org/BIT.